What is up, Iwu crew? Today, we're covering 3 cold cases solved years later. Let's get right into it. Number 3. Lucy Ann Johnson. A few photos. A few photos is all Linda Evans had left of her mother, Lucy Ann Johnson. In 1961, Linda Evans was living happily at age 7 with her mother and father, Lucy and Marvin, respectively, along with a younger brother. While the home was not as happy as the children may have thought, Linda did the best to make it so. She enjoyed holidays with a fully fledged family, a definition of the American dream in the time of the 60s. That is, until Lucy Ann Johnson suddenly left the family, leaving her children behind as she fled. Linda grew up with 3 photos of her mother, admiring her throughout her life and wondering exactly what she was like. She did not have much to go off of, according to the interview she underwent with the National Post. In said interview, Linda recalled, "And when my father remarried, me and my younger brother were not allowed to bring up Lucy's name. So all I was left with were 2 little pictures of Lucy, and 1 bigger one. That is all I knew of my mother." Linda's father did not call in Lucy's disappearance until 1965, making him a prime suspect in Lucy's disappearance. Authorities searched everywhere they thought Lucy could possibly be, dead or alive. They turned up empty-handed and confused. Over time, the family and others thought Lucy must have died, but they could never exactly figure out how. They interviewed neighbors, searched the house and the houses around, but found absolutely no traces of Lucy. Foul play was suspected, but never acted upon. Marvin Johnson, Linda's father and Lucy's husband, was the prime suspect of the case. But they could never find any solid evidence to charge him with any counts of any crime for Lucy's vanishing act. Marvin Johnson also refused to speak about Lucy or her disappearance, prohibiting his children from asking about her once she was gone. It says in the same article, "She imagined so many things as a little girl, but could never ask her father. The subject was closed. Mentioning her name in Marvin Johnson's household was forbidden, a fatherly edict that was not to be ignored, no matter how close Linda Evans grew to her dad." After being so confused and ignored in her questions about her mother, Linda managed to find Lucy and Marvin's marriage license. After doing more sleuthing, using the little number of resources she had, Linda finally found her mother's birth date, full name, and birthplace. Using these resources, Linda worked up the courage to release an ad online in an attempt to find her lost relatives and family she had never known. The ad read, "I'm looking for my relatives. My grandparents' names are Margaret and Andrew Carville. My mother's name is Lucy Ann Carville. She was born October 14th, 1935 in Skagway." In the ad, Linda also included her email address. Determined to find her family, she sent this ad to the Yukon News in order to finally receive answers she had waited around 50 years for. Hope surged when Rhonda and Howard Glenn found the ad, finding their half-sister that they never knew they had. Rhonda, who was living in Whitehorse, Canada, received a call from her brother, who advised her to check out the newest addition to the Yukon News. She was beyond shocked to see that her mother was in the ad as a missing person. She was even more surprised that Linda was saying that Lucy was her mother. Rhonda wasted no time contacting Linda with questions concerning who exactly she was. She had no idea her mother was missing, nor about her double life she escaped from while she was fleeing to Canada. Linda, excited and nervous, to finally find her family she had also never known, was even more excited to see her mother. Linda had 2 phone conversations with her mother, which she had mixed feelings about. She thought her mother was dead, even murdered, for 52 years, just to find out that she was alive and living a totally different life. Linda, curious, asked many questions about why exactly Lucy left them with their father. Lucy reasoned that Marvin was horribly abusive to Lucy, beating her while grossly intoxicated. Unable to deal with it anymore, Lucy fled the house, but Marvin would not let her take her children. After Marvin declared that she could not take Linda or her younger brother, Lucy ran alone. Linda, now a grandmother, visited her mother in her new home shortly after the conversations, and they exchanged very tearful hellos. While Linda describes their first interactions as very awkward and uncomfortable, she said that she would like to move to Whitehorse to be closer to her mother. A happy, unexpected ending on a 52-year-old case. Number 2. Jack Morrison. Jack Morrison's 1968 Disappearing Act, probably the most weirdly wholesome disappearing act of them all. In the 60s, Jack Morrison was happily married in Canada. He was married to an Anne Morrison, a lovely woman by his standards. It was devastating when they split in 1967, though they never ended up getting an official divorce. Instead of officially divorcing Anne, Jack disappeared from Canada without a trace. Confused about his disappearance, people began looking, fearful that he had been murdered or kidnapped. Not a trace of evidence or information came up about him. A lawyer spread information that Jack had been shot and killed, and that was that. It seemed like the end of the case. The end of Jack Morrison, the most charming and charismatic man at the party. Or was it? What truly happened to Jack? Someone that seemingly uprooted his life. False U.S. documents under the name Jack Owens give us the clear answer. Jack Morrison was no longer Jack Morrison from Canada, but rather Jack Owens in the United States, living a separate life under the alias. He was alive and thriving, with a job in car sales and a happy marriage. He lived this happy life until Hurricane Katrina hit, leaving him unfortunately homeless. Even then, though, Jack tried to piece his life back together in sunny California. He was only caught when authorities asked for a birth certificate in 2010, something he did not have because of his false documents. So, Jack Morrison went back to Canada, his fake ID left in California, as he eventually went back to the place he had originally made it a point to run away from. What was the first thing Jack did after being steadily housed and comfortable? He tried to find his technical wife, Anne Morrison. They never truly got a divorce, as Jack fled before they could officially file it. Even so, Jack had no idea where his wife was once he had settled in a home for veterans. He was in the military in Canada during his youth. As he learned how to maneuver Facebook, he searched for family and friends, some of which had passed during Jack's time as Mr. Owens. Desperate to find his wife, he went to Montreal, where Jack and Anne had originally gotten married, to find the records of their marriage. He talked a government official into giving him the location of Anne, which was Orangeville. Immediately, he started calling every Morrison in Orangeville, delighted to stumble upon Anne's current husband after his second call. Shocked that Jack Morrison was indeed still alive, he rushed to tell Anne, who was in chemotherapy for ovarian cancer. Anne's sister, Mary Thompson Hill, ended up having to bestow the news onto her. She gently told Anne that Jack was very much alive. At first, Anne refuted this new information, as a lawyer had told Anne that Jack, informally known as Jackie, had been shot in the head and killed. Eventually, Anne began to believe it, even if it was mind-blowing that Jack was still alive after all these years. The news felt like a weight was taken off Anne's shoulders, as she was absolutely sure that Jack had died all those years ago. To see him again was both exciting and nerve-wracking for her. According to an interview Jack, Anne, and Mary had done with The Star, Jack recalled their 1967 split. "It was completely my fault. When I got up and I left, it was nothing to do with her. She's a nice woman, a very lovely individual." Eventually, the two met again, all nerves being thrown out of the window when they realized that neither of them have changed a bit. Heartwarmingly, both of them fondly describe how their eyes are familiar to one another, holding warmth that they both recall from years lost. In their wholesome reunion, Jack and Anne's husband got along surprisingly well, considering the situation they were in. The article reads, "Morrison stayed for a day and a half, talked about the past with Anne, shot pool with Morrison's partner, a very nice man. They laughed about who was Anne's husband. It was funny in the way that it's, 'No, I'm her husband,' and 'No, I'm her husband.' They went on like that. They got along very well," according to Anne. Even with the new development, Anne refuses to change her last name, as she has found comfort in it through all these baffling years. The mystery of her dead husband had finally been solved, and they are both doing fine. Number 1. Julie Bureau. In Quebec, a 14-year-old schoolgirl made massive headlines when she was reported missing for 3 years. Julie Bureau, who was 14 before the time of her disappearance, was living with her parents in their home in Eastern Townships. She was a normal girl, going to school and growing up with friends and family. This, of course, all took a turn when Julie went suddenly missing in 2001. Her family immediately filed a report, and massive searches were conducted for the missing girl, living in an inconspicuous small town before her disappearance. Not much information has been brought up about this process, but needless to say, nothing was found. Losing hope, the thought that Julie was alive began to seriously dwindle. Most thought she was kidnapped and murdered, as that is usually what happens with cases of young girls vanishing into thin air. Her parents were terrified that they would find Julie dead in a ditch, but it was even more harrowing to find nothing at all. The case did not provide the family or anyone else who was close to Julie any closure. That is, until a visitor to a local flea market reported seeing Julie there, healthy and happy. In 2004, 3 years after her disappearance, Julie Bureau was finally found at the age of 17. She had been living an hour away from the Eastern Townships, where her childhood home was, during the whole time of her disappearance. She had been living with John Paul Bernard, a single father who had found a starving Julie hitchhiking. The two had both insisted that their relationship was strictly friendship, as Julie was a minor, even when she was found by the passerby at the flea market. Julie reported in her book that she had been around gangs and prostitutes for a time before she found John Paul. She began working and making her own living after that. She also claimed that her own mother had driven her away from her home, recalling the psychological torture her mother had put her through during her time living in her home. Tired of it, Julie left her controlling mother. Her mother claims this is not true, even when faced with direct excerpts of Julie's book, La Vraie Julie Bureau. Julie's parents say that she lied about her home life, and that most of it was either made up or exaggerated in her story. Julie claimed she did not know she was being looked for across the town and country, but she later admitted to writing to her friends and watching a television segment about her disappearance. Either way, Julie refused to come home to her family at the time of her discovery, staying with John Paul until she could go off on her own with stability and happiness. The case is rather simple, but it still holds many twists and turns that require a second glance to truly see. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. A playlist is going to pop up right now with more videos you'll love. See you guys next time.